Hey everybody, it's nice to see you here at the Tembo Health Share and Care webinar. I'm Amy House. I'm the lead care navigator with Tembo Health, and I'm also joined today by Mary Ellen, another care navigator who might be helping us when we have time to answer questions and talk about things at the end. But we're thrilled to have Bill Uniowski here. Bill is from Zinnia TV, which is a amazing product, and I'm just so excited to learn more about it. I just wanted to remind everybody that we have this monthly webinar on the first Thursday of every month, and it's always at 12:30 Central Time, 1:30 Eastern. And if you are signed up with this webinar, then you should get invitations to future ones. We always send the invitation out about 1 week in advance, and then again the day before, just so that you can register. But if you want to put it on your calendar, it's the first Thursday of every month at 12:30 Central Time. And then I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to Bill to tell us all about Zinnia TV and his role and how he got started. And he's going to share his screen as well, so we have a little bit to look at on the screen. Go ahead, Bill.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you to Tembo for hosting this webinar and giving me a chance to speak to everybody. My name's Bill Uniowski, and I am one of the co-founders of Zinnia, and I'm excited to tell you all about what we do and how we do it, and we can watch some videos. But Zinnia is a streaming service just like YouTube or Netflix, and all of the content has been built specifically to be digestible and engaging for people with dementia. And this can work all across the care continuum. So we support family members at home who are caring for a loved one. We support senior living, adult day, and some hospitals. So very easy to use all across the care continuum. And really it's about giving caregivers tools. You can use this as a replacement for regular TV if you find that that's not working with the person you support. If news is becoming a little too overwhelming, or people are having trouble telling fact from fiction. Or you can use Zinnia in a very intentional way for various therapeutic benefits. And we'll go into that. So, yep, I'm going to share my screen right now, and we'll go through a couple of slides. I'll tell you about the background of Zinnia, how we came about, what we do, and then happy to go on a tour of the system. We can watch some videos and everything else. So we will get started. All right, so we call Zinnia therapeutic TV for dementia. Like I said, you could use it as a replacement for regular TV, but you could also use it very intentionally to support the person that you are working with. And we come at this through the experience of a family caregiver. This is my co-founder, Allison. She was a caregiver to her husband, Evan, who was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia at 47. So she, probably like many of you, was thrust into caregiving, maybe balancing bringing up a family with caregiving at the same time, and then trying to figure out a job and things like that. And Allison's response was to learn as much as she could about dementia in order to do the best she could to care for Evan. And that led her to increasing her education on dementia and working for the state of Washington, teaching courses that the state mandated for anyone working in long-term care. So she was going into communities and teaching classes on dementia. At the same time, shortly thereafter, she moved on to the University of Washington's Memory and Brain Wellness Center, where she helped to manage a program focused on education for primary care physicians. So obviously in Seattle, there's a lot of neurologists and people who are specialized in dementia who see a lot of it, but primary care physicians don't always do that, especially in rural areas of Eastern Washington. So she worked on a program that was clinical education for that. So taking both of these experiences, she brings that to Zinnia. Additionally, I had a couple of grandparents who had dementia, and I saw my aunts and uncles caring for them and understanding the burden. And so, this is very personal to all of us, as I'm sure it is to you, and for many people who enter this space. So one of the things that Allison realized when she was caring for Evan and when she'd visit him in communities, or when she'd go visit communities where she was teaching, was that caregivers will often use TV as a way to occupy the person they're supporting, for a little bit of respite for themselves, or to just give people something to do. But sometimes that solution of the television becomes part of the problem, because TV is intended for people with healthy brains who can track a plot and tell fact from fiction and process rapid audio and video. But for people living with dementia who process the world more slowly, that type of media can often lead to confusion and agitation and more difficulty in caregiving. We actually had Allison hosted a panel at a conference with a group of people from the National Council of Dementia Minds, which is an organization of people living with dementia. And she had a panel of people with dementia, and she asked them, what do you watch on TV? And these were people who were on the earlier stage of their disease. They were able to be on a panel and discuss things. And one of them raised their hand and said, I really don't like television. When I walk in and if it's on, I turn it off because it just overwhelms me. And she asked, how many other people feel this way? And all but one raised their hands. So, you know, we often say if people can watch TV and enjoy it, they should. But when it becomes problematic, then maybe it's time to reconsider what they're watching. So what we did was we made Zinnia as a platform of dementia-friendly videos, all intended to be, when we make them through the eyes, we do it through the eyes of the recipient, the care recipient who watches. So you'll see that our videos are slow moving, they're gently paced, they're very visual. We'll use sound effects to capture the senses, and we do them across a wide variety of topics so that you can find a video that might match with your loved one's background, their interests, a place you went to travel, their hobbies. And really it's a jumping off point. So you could put that on and it can act as a tool for you as a caregiver to give you a little bit of respite. If you know that this is a dementia friendly video that dad likes and he'll be okay for 10 minutes while you take a shower. But also you could use it very intentionally to engage and connect. The best use of Zinnia is when you sit down next to a person you support and watch it together. And then maybe you hit pause and you ask a question or you tell a story about what you've seen or a place that you went and that trip that you went on together. It's just a great way to connect. We've heard from people that they've heard their mom laugh for the first time in 3 years because they saw something silly and they laughed and they enjoyed it. And it was, a really nice moment for them. And so, we are all these stories about magical moments of caregivers and the person they support watching Zinnia and having some really positive interactions. As I mentioned before, we work all across the care continuum. We work with families at home, we work with senior living and everywhere in between. And what's great about this platform is it's super easy to use. So if you're using YouTube already on your TV, you can use Zinnia. We have an app that you can download on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, Android TV, and Samsung, as well as tablets, or you can access it on the computer. And unlike YouTube, there's never going to be any commercials. Or you don't have to worry about what the autoplay is to the next video and some video coming up that's not helpful or could be triggering to someone living with dementia. So there's a variety of ways that Zinnia videos can help support caregivers, and the few most common ones are here. The first one, like I mentioned, is engagement. Allison wanted something to sit with Evan and talk about things that he liked. And when she ran out of pictures to show him on her phone about their kids and their trips and their dogs, she wanted more things. So Evan liked to hike and he liked to mountain bike. So her question was, where are those videos? And so we started building those types of videos. And again, sit with someone, engage, connect, promote conversation. And you can do that one-to-one or one-to-many. If you're an activity director in senior living, I'm sure if you looked at your calendar and you looked at the list of Zinnia videos available, you could probably find videos that match with things that you're doing. Last week was the Kentucky Derby. We've got horse videos. You could have that going on as you get everybody together for the activity or after the activity as you're transitioning to a more calm period. Lots of options there. Then we started hearing from people who said, we've got Zinnia and we were able to use a video that connected with one of our residents to calm them down and to reduce agitation. And this baby's video we're showing as an example because we were at a conference and someone came to us and said, we've got Zinnia in our community. We have a resident who regularly gets agitated and we give her a dose of her antipsychotic medications because that's what her care plan calls for. But we want to reduce that and avoid that as much as possible. So we knew that she was a pediatric nurse and we thought, let's show her the baby's video. And they did that the next time she was agitated. And within 2 to 3 minutes, she had noticeably calmed down. She was reaching out and cooing at the screen. And they changed her care plan with her doctor to have them show Zinnia as the first intervention when she's agitated, as opposed to going to the medication. So big win and lots of other stories we hear like that. And then we heard from some people, some caregivers who said, I have a hard time getting my loved one to shower or go to bed or drink water or get dressed. Can you build us some videos that would help with that? So we built a channel of activities of daily living videos that help to model, prompt, and cue various behaviors you as a caregiver might be trying to accomplish. And so Let's Drink Water is a great example. We have communities or we have families that every day at 11 o'clock, they pour glasses of water, they turn on the Let's Drink Water video, and they see people drinking water, and they see water being poured into cups and people cheersing and ice, and they hear the water in the filling up the cup, and it just makes people more open to that behavior. They said, see it, that person's drinking water, we should have a sip, should we do that? Cheers. And there you go. Then, given Allison's education background, it's really important that we try to provide as much information to support caregivers as possible. And we know that family caregivers don't often have a lot of background or training in dementia or in some of the things that they may encounter. So we created a education channel where we talk about helping with hallucinations or coping with repetition, or helping someone to shower. How do you do these things? And sundowning, what is it? How does it work? How can you help manage that? So we've got all of these videos that are very, very helpful. While we thought we build it initially for the family caregiver, we also find that senior living communities really enjoy these as well, at a morning meeting where they get the staff together and they're doing shift change and talking about what's going on with the residents. And it's easy to say, hey, let's just spend 5 minutes and watch this video and refresh and have a little discussion on that topic. So education is super important. Additionally, a core with education and support being the core of what we do at Zinnia, Allison also hosts monthly caregiver education webinars similar to this one, where anyone, whether they subscribe to Zinnia or not, can join. And sometimes Allison talks about the topic. Sometimes we have a guest speaker to come in. And then it sort of becomes a bit of a support group at the end of it, where people share and solve problems and just support each other. So it's just a great thing that we've been doing, that it's really part of our mission. That's not part of a product we're trying to sell. It's just, core to what we believe. Super important that not only are these videos nice looking and they seem to work and we've got great stories about them, but we needed to back them up with evidence. And we did that through research with the University of British Columbia and Vancouver General Hospital. So we were in we were there for 2 years, basically working in long-term care and hospital communities. And that research resulted in 7 papers that were published in research journals, including the Canadian Journal of Nursing Research and Digital Health. And those journals and those papers and that research validated the things that I showed you before as the key use cases of Zinnia. So they were able to validate that Zinnia is effective at helping to engage people in multiple ways. It helps them to engage with themselves through reminiscence, to engage with their caregivers, to engage with their fellow residents. And then Zinnia, effective at activities of daily living and getting people to drink water, especially when used as part of a routine every day. Routine super important in dementia care. And then they also validated the agitation use case. So there was a gentleman who was admitted to Vancouver General Hospital for another condition, but he had severe dementia, and they had a hard time finding a place for him to live after his treatment in the hospital. So he lived in the hospital for a while. And he was kind of very, agitative and aggressive, and he kind of pulled the TV off the wall at one point. So what they ended up doing was they mounted a television, a projector on the ceiling of a hospital room, and they would show the Cars video big against the wall, and they'd walk him in, and suddenly he was just a different person. He was looking at the cars, he was talking about them, pointing at them, and it gave the hospital staff a lot of relief, but it also made his family happy to know that there was something there that could calm him and kind of speak to his interest and background. We continued to do research. We got a grant from the National Institutes of Health. We were very lucky to do that, and we're doing research at Duke, again, with routines, and how do we support caregivers through these videos with routine. And we also support veterans at the VA in Durham, where we're using Zinnia before and after surgery to help avoid delirium. So always trying to validate and the things that we're doing. We also work with some great partners. UCLA Health out in California purchases Zinnia subscriptions to give to their caregivers and patients. So if any of you are out there, you can get one from Zinnia, from UCLA Health. If any of you live in Atlanta and go to Emory for your dementia clinic, if you walk in, you'll see a TV in the waiting room playing Zinnia all the time. And if you live in New York, we are partners with the New York State Office of Aging. So there's opportunities to get Zinnia subscriptions through that. For those of you who work in long-term care, we're in many long-term care communities. And our first community that we got into was Brookdale, and we were in 5 of their communities for 2 months. And we surveyed the staff after we spent time there, and it was overwhelmingly positive. And we also have just wonderful feedback and reviews from family caregivers who share about us on social media and in other places. So that's kind of an intro and a quick overview of Zinnia. And I'd love to take people through a couple of videos and we can see what we got on the platform. Does that work?
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I love all of this and hearing about the research part too. And just to hear that there's a lot backing up what you thought was going to work well, and it does. Yeah, if
Yeah.
you want to bring up some videos, that would be great.
Okay.
I think we had talked earlier, Bill and I, and we were having some issue with trying to make sure sound came through the webinar, but he's going to talk through some of it and you'll just watch, you'll see the videos.
Exactly. We'll have to leave something for you to discover on your own when you come visit Zinnia.
Yeah, and please think about any questions that you have about Zinnia, any questions that you have about dementia in general that might be helpful for Bill to answer at the end, or for myself or Mary Ellen. You can put those in the chat box or the Q&A. We look at both of them, and I'll let Bill take it away again here.
Sure. So now I'm going to take you on a tour of the Zinnia platform, and it's consistent and it will look and feel like this, whether you're looking at it on a computer like I am, or on a television app or a tablet. And as we do this, and you're noticing the videos and the titles and the categories, I want you to think about the people that you support. Might be a family member or people who live at the community where you work, and think about some of those residents and their interests and their background, and what videos you might see that could be really interesting to them. It could be a good way to have a conversation, engage them, and so on. So the best way to get into Zinnia, I would suggest, is go straight to our channel menu. And you can see that we have lots of, we organize our videos in channels. So we've got all day channel, which is something that some communities put on a television and just have it running in the background. And all of our videos are generally 8 to 12 minutes long on average. There's shorter ones and there's longer ones. But the goal here is to always have something different coming up on the screen so that someone might walk by, see something that they like, and watch it. And the all day channel is a mix between interests and animals and nature. So very good kind of to set the mood in the background for calming or for engagement. And you can see just by these titles, really varied in the types of things that we do. So that's a mix. And then any of these channels, say you wanted to put on really calming nature videos, any of these channels, if you start one of these videos, when this one's over, it'll autoplay to the next and the next and the next. And as I mentioned, there's never any commercials, and all of the content you'll see is going to be dementia friendly.
That's really nice, because I know as a director of memory care, we would use YouTube, and all of a sudden we, look over and the YouTube saying, "Are you still there?" Because it wants to know if we're still watching, and it's been stopped now for a while. So that's good.
Yeah. All right. So interest is where we began. And this is where we have a wide variety of things to think about. Hey, what is it that, your residents or your loved one might like? So I'm scanning through. And, if I was thinking about my grandmother, baking would be the video we'd want to watch. And so, as I mentioned, we've got sound in the background, some music and some sound effects that will not come through on this.
It's coming through, I think.
Oh, it's coming through. Great.
Or maybe not.
I'll lower it so you can hear my voice. But
There you go.
this is what a typical Zinnia video looks like. It's heavily visual. There's music in the background that matches. So if it's a baby's video, there's kind of lullaby-ish kind of music and it's calming. If it's something else, it might be a little more upbeat. But we'll show scenes of the thing that we're doing. So we're showing baking scenes, and we stay on this frame longer than maybe you or I want to watch this apples being put into the pan, but it allows someone with dementia to really take in what they're seeing. And if we have, little sound effects that might jar get their attention, that's another thing. And really, you can watch this and again, use the pause button. Use the pause button and ask a question or tell a story. Or, if I were watching this with my grandmother, I'd say, my favorite thing that you make are the butter cookies. How do you make those butter cookies? And have her explain that to me. What's the hardest thing to make? What takes the longest amount of time? And so on. And there's no plot or dialogue in many of our videos. So that means that, one, there's nothing to get confused about if you kind of miss words, because as people progress in dementia, it can be harder to follow spoken language. And then also that means it's open and available and accessible to people of all different language backgrounds. Babies is always super popular, so we got to spend a little time watching a baby's video. And here, there's some giggles where the baby giggles. There's a cute spot where the baby sneezes, in addition to the music in the background. And again, even though there's no plot or dialogue here, we're telling a story. This is the baby's first year. So where does the baby start? Baby's in the hospital, wrapped in a towel, held by, the baby's mom wearing a hairnet. And then move on to the baby will be getting dressed, and we'll show scenes of different babies doing different things. And this is obviously always very popular. If in your community you do baby doll therapy, this is a great thing to use alongside of that. So again, really powerful to kind of figure out where these videos can fit within things you already do, your activity calendar. Visits for family. This is really great for family visits. We have a story about our sewing video where we were in a community in California, and the family came to visit their loved one, and it was their mom. And their mom was lying in bed, kept her eyes closed, didn't want to engage, and it wasn't looking like it was going to be a great visit. But the staff member said, "Well, tell me something your mom loves to do." And they said she loves to sew. And so they said, "Okay, here's an iPad with Zinnia on it. Let's watch the sewing video." And in that first scene where we see the woman at the sewing machine, she snips the thread, and there's some really great sound effects of the scissors snipping thread. And when the woman heard that, her eyes popped open. And then she sat up and she saw the spools of thread and all of the different colored fabrics, and suddenly got interested in what she was seeing. And so she sat up, she was watching the video, the family was watching the video, and then they started telling stories about the Halloween costumes their mom would make for them and other things. And it really turned it into a very nice visit together. So I know sometimes in senior living, families can be a little resistant to visiting or uncertain about what they're going to do or how it's going to go. And this is a great tool to have something to do, together. In Brookdale, where I mentioned we had a pilot, they have a couple of quiet rooms at the end of each wing where they have Zinnia running on a TV. And it's a place that if a resident needs to kind of get away from some of the stimulation of the community, they can go there, or families can go there together and spend some time during a visit. So you get a sense of, by watching these videos, what a typical Zinnia video looks like and how we use engaging visuals and sound effects if you check that out on our site. But lots of things. This Just Fun video, it's silly. People with dementia have the capacity to enjoy humor and laugh and smile. And so this video is just a bunch of silly stuff. And people love it. I was told, I was at a conference and someone came to me and they said, I care for my husband at home and we have Zinnia. And I know if I put on the Just Fun video, he will laugh constantly for 10 minutes. And she's like, and so I can put that on for him. I could step away and prep dinner or do laundry or something like that. And I just hear him laughing and I know he's enjoying himself. And it makes me feel good as a caregiver to know that he's happy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
Making
lots of,
me laugh too.
there we go. Well, how about I make you want to drink water? So
Yeah,
here's our activities of daily living section. So these are the ones I described that help to model, prompt, and cue various things. So we've got showering, going to sleep, waking up, having lunch. And we'll show a bit of our drinking water video. And if there's a little buffering right now, it's just due to the internet.
yeah.
But so there's going to be music in the background. Here's a woman who takes a nice sip of water. Then we can hear the water filling this glass. It's very, very evocative. And again, pour a couple of glasses of water, put this on, watch it, and ask if they're interested in taking a sip. You can cheers together, and clink glasses. But again, always trying to be playful, right? So we had the Just Fun video. Now this is the water video. How do we get people to drink water? We show people drinking water. And then we'll show dogs drinking water and cats and geese and babies and whatever it is that can connect to someone and make them more open-minded and interested in doing the thing.
Love it.
Similarly in a senior living environment or even adult day, if you're doing meals, the breakfast video is something a lot of communities like to put on if they have a TV in the dining area. And they'll turn it on. And as people are coming in, it helps to orient them to time of day. It's the morning, this dining room breakfast. Okay, I'm here to eat. And then also it's captivating enough and engaging enough that when people are brought to sit down, they'll watch the video and stay there while the staff go and get other members of the community to bring them there. And again, telling a story about breakfast. So it's eggs from chickens, sausages at the market, squeezing orange juice, grinding coffee, all of the things. If you want some exercise videos, we have some gentle exercise videos. So chair movement and seated yoga and things like that. Additionally, we have some sing-alongs, which are very, very popular. And here we partner with some friends of ours who are music therapists who create videos specifically for people with dementia. And we put them on. We'll be adding 20 new ones from Alexis Baker from Bridgetown Music Therapy coming up. So looking forward to that. And that was a request from our users. They said, we want more sing-alongs. So we got more sing-alongs. And that's where we get ideas for a lot of our videos. We hear from people that they're looking for a particular topic, and so we make it for them. Can't guarantee we do that quickly or can respond to everybody, but it's just a great way. Quizzes. Now, here's a different kind of type of video for Zinnia. We actually have language on this one. And it's an interactive, dementia-friendly quiz across lots of different topics. And this is an example of a place where we can be more responsive to people about different topics if they're looking for it. And these are really good for senior living activities content. The activity director calls out, someone has to do something. This is kind of it leads itself type of thing. And we get creative. So American literature, not necessarily something that I thought would be a really popular thing for people with dementia, but got a great story on this one. So you can't hear this right now, but there's a voiceover and someone says, who wrote the poem, The Raven? And then we start showing potential answers. Was it Robert Frost? Or is it B, Walt Whitman? Or is it C, Edgar Allan Poe? And then we'll slowly remove answers till we highlight the correct one. And again, this moves slowly. It's a great way, again, to hit pause and ask a question. When it's, does anyone know about Edgar Allan Poe? Does anyone have a favorite book? Things like that. Great story in this one. We were in a community and they were doing this activity up at the front. And there was a gentleman in the back who was in a wheelchair. everyone in the community, all the staff knew him as being completely nonverbal. He didn't talk. And so he's not paying attention to the activity in the front, but all of a sudden, they're hearing someone shouting out the answers, Edgar Allan Poe, and they turn around and it was that gentleman. And he went on to answer all the questions correctly. And it turns out that he had been a writer for the Los Angeles Times. And so no surprise that he was into books and literature and things like that. And the staff obviously were overjoyed because they found something that they knew could connect and unlock him and make him happy. So, another example of how these Zinnia videos can create magic moments. Car maintenance, we made it because there was a community that said we have a lot of men who don't love the babies and the animals, but they like cars and they like tools. What can you do? So car maintenance asks questions about tire changes, tire rotation, oil changes, windshield wipers, little common stuff. And again, hit pause and ask a question. Did you ever get a flat tire? Tell me a story about that. Who had one of those? Similarly, like hunting safety, another one. We have a bunch of guys in a rural area who like guns. Like, what do you do? And it's like, how do you do dementia-friendly guns? It's like, no, let's do a hunting safety quiz. And so we ask questions about things like, what do you wear hunting? Is it camouflage? Is it brown? Or is it bright orange? And then why do you wear bright orange? And all that kind of stuff. So, we can do these with holidays, Halloween, New Year's, all sorts of things. So that's a really kind of engaging style of Zinnia content. And a similar thing that we're doing, I know in senior living, daily chronicles is a big deal. So if you want to talk about what happened today in history, we've created a video similar to the quiz video style, where we talk about things that happened in history. And these are a great jumping off point for discussion because we go through lots of different topics, and it's, again, slow moving. There will be words on the screen. So if people are still able to read, this is a great way to expose them to that. But there's also the voiceover, and we'll just talk about things. So Gary Cooper's birthday. Okay, let's hit pause. Who's a Gary Cooper fan? What's your favorite Gary Cooper movie? Can you sing a song? Things like that. So we talk about Gary Cooper. So there's some history and geography, different countries. Oh, this is interesting. Sony is founded. Okay. What's that? It's camera. Who likes photography? What other Sony things do they make? Sony makes, do you remember the Walkman? I would wear, and just, you can be really creative and use this as a jumping off point for lots and lots of different things. So that's today in history. We are starting to do some new topics, again, closer to activities, and we call it discover and discuss. We might rename it lifelong learning, but it's just different kind of slideshows on different topics. So I have I've not yet seen all of them because they're so new. But iconic coastal lighthouses of North America. That's kind of cool. So here we'll have a title, we'll show a scene, and then there's a voiceover that discusses it. So it'll talk about different lighthouses. So this could be interesting. We hear all the time from caregivers who love watching Zinnia themselves because it either calms them down or it makes them interested in something or they learn things. I think what I'm trying to get across here is we have a really wide variety of content across all different topics and at all different levels. There's just the visual stuff with music in the background. Then there's, things with words and quizzes. So lots of different options and all sorts of things that, you can explore yourselves. The education stuff I mentioned before too. So, coping with repetition, sundowning, and like these are, again, for caregivers, and there's a voiceover explaining it. And so you won't hear that right now. But, the video is engaging like a Zinnia video. It's not a doctor wearing a coat explaining certain things around repetition or sundowning. It's, visual. So it's kind of more engaging. So happy to look at some more things or take some questions. We have a free trial, so you can go on and explore. We have free videos on YouTube. That's a sample. We always have some free videos got to find them, free featured videos on our site. So you can look at spring flowers or coffee or sewing, which we saw, the safari, go to Hawaii, drink water, all of these. So, we hear from caregivers all the time who really feel like this is a valuable tool to them, and their loved ones and their teams. And so, I just appreciate everyone looking at this and joining, and happy to answer any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you. I love it. I love because, yeah, less talking is more when it comes to dementia care, and everything is visual. And sometimes I just find that there are people out there that are just, they look at a picture and they're just kind of talking about it over and over again because that's what I'm looking at right now. But to have this kind of new stuff that they can be watching and then start talking about and engage their caregiver, really, because it can be something you do together.
Exactly. We're always adding new content. What you see on the site today is today, for Zinnia, and that stuff won't disappear, but there'll be more. So
Yeah.
always changing, and like I said, open to suggestions about other topics and things to do, like those discover and discuss videos that we're starting to make now. Like, I'd very much like to make one for every branch of the military. I'd like to make one for the most popular national parks. Uh,
Mhm.
food from different countries, and more travel videos, and things like that that can be really engaging to people.
Yeah, and I do like that the quizzes have written information for them to read on the screen because I find so many people who maybe can't even talk anymore can still read. So many can still read. So that's just a different skill set, I think, or a different part of the brain. But having that little quiz area too, that's fun. And it's very slow moving and slow paced, which is great. Yeah, I have a couple of questions here. One of them is, what are some ways that Zinnia can be accessed along with TV packages, like an app like you have for YouTube? How does that work?
Okay, so Zinnia is a standalone uh, program platform for video. You can go if you have Roku, or if you can access the app stores that are available on Roku TVs, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, Google TV, and Samsung. We're in those app stores. So, and even if your TVs aren't connected TVs like that, you could purchase like a plug-in that goes in the back of the TV, like a Roku stick or an Amazon Fire stick, and that will turn. You connect that to your TV and the internet, and then that turns into a smart TV, and you can get our app there. We have apps on tablets as well. So if you have an iPad or an Android tablet, you can go to the App Store, download the app there. And then we're also on the web, so you can find us on a computer, and not ideal to kind of plug the computer in the back of the TV, but that's possible too. If you are a subscriber to Zinnia, you can log into multiple devices at a time. So, it doesn't have to be just the TV. If you have a TV and an iPad, you could do that. iPads are really effective, especially because they're mobile.
Mhm.
The app on the tablets has the ability to choose favorite videos and actually download them to the app on the iPad. So if you're going to a doctor's appointment or traveling and you want videos accessible where you might not have Wi-Fi access or cellular access on the tablet app, you'll have your core videos there and can watch them.
Wonderful. And a plane ride. I'm part of a group that's making travel more dementia friendly, and this would be great for any kind of travel. Um, yeah. And I have somebody who asked a similar question, but I think you kind of answered it. But our TV is pretty old. It's a Sanyo. We have Comcast Xfinity with a brand new TV box, but I already checked, and Zinnia does not seem to be available among the apps. Um, are there other options to connect it, like a laptop to the TV through an HDMI cable? Which, yeah, I think you said if you have HDMI, you could
Mhm.
that way through a laptop, or you mentioned a Roku or a Fire Stick. Um, yeah, that it's great to know that if you have an HDMI cord, this is a possibility.
Yes, exactly. And we aren't involved or connected to any cable systems right now, but that's obviously something we'd love to grow into and welcome. And we working on discussions in that way, but nothing soon, or nothing immediate. But
Yeah.
there are lots of ways to access Zinnia as it is now, but we're always trying to make it more accessible.
Awesome. Karen wrote, "This is truly wonderful." Ken wrote, "The quizzes look very cool." And then Alexis, one of our care navigators, said, "So glad to learn that there are sample videos on YouTube. As a caregiver, Zinnia has made my life so much easier. I have a hard time convincing other caregivers how dysregulating normal TV can be for people with dementia. And she always recommends Zinnia, and thanks you, Bill."
Oh,
Um,
you're welcome. Thank you for all you do to help care navigation and caregiving.
yeah,
It's support, right? We have everyone's trying to help and with different tools and sharing that information. So, I'm glad we're an option that's helpful for people.
yeah.
And
And oh,
going back to how dysregulating normal TV can be, um,
mhm,
you hear all the time about people who see something on TV and think it's really happening in their room.
yep,
Sometimes people end up watching crime dramas because they used to like that,
mhm,
but it no longer suits them.
yep,
And, if there are things on regular TV that work for people, then by all means do it. I think, um, my mom loves The Sound of Music. So, I think if she ever had dementia, that would be something that would be happy and good to watch. But, maybe at a certain point, that becomes more difficult where, there's the guy with the gun hanging out behind the cemetery in the scene. If anybody's familiar with that movie, I kind of geek out on that. But you monitor what's happening, and sometimes regular TV can work for a while, sometimes it won't. Sometimes you just need a break and want something calming at certain times of the day, and this is a great alternative.
yeah, yeah. As a director of memory care, I've had that happen before where we're watching like a really great YouTube video about animals. Then the next one comes on, and all of a sudden you've got like a shark eating a seal or something, and it's, whoa, we don't want that on the TV. That's not very fun. So it's nice to just have this where you can let it play and you know it's always going to be something appropriate. Has anybody had any experiences with your loved one being having a challenge with regular TV? Feel free to share it in the chat or the Q&A. And so I also have here, let's see, Karen said, "My mom is in a facility that does closed circuit TV. They can tune into a channel and see the facility's chapel. It's something that the facility can do and that each resident can watch to turn to a specific channel. Maybe that's something a facility could do with Zinnia, where they can put it on everybody's TVs at once."
It's something that they have to kind of figure out within their system, and everyone's a little bit different, but we certainly have people who have like a community channel, and they'll run Zinnia through a community channel for people. And we're talking to a couple of potential partner companies who run those types of channels in communities, and maybe loading up Zinnia to help with that. So, um, definitely an option. Stay tuned.
Very good. Jan wrote, "Very interesting. I noticed that my dad is watching other types of shows lately and also noticed him struggling with the multiple remotes." This sounds like something I could add to his TV. Yeah, all the remotes are just such a challenge nowadays.
Remotes can be challenging, and we often recommend that the caregiver be the one who helps navigate the channels and turn things on, and so on, because that can be problematic. And it's interesting, noticing your dad watching other types of shows. Someone I know and respect deeply in the memory care and dementia world always highlights the fact that people with dementia can still have novelty and be exposed to new things and enjoy and learn and have new experiences. So all too often, people will fall back onto the same thing that they know that works. And that's great, but it's not uncommon to hear that people discover other things that they like. And they said, I, never knew my dad was into that, but he likes it now, and so it works.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, that is. And I like how it just goes into the next video. So if you do step away, it's not like they're going to be sitting there wanting you back every 10 minutes to find something for them. You can just put it on a loop of videos that might be interesting to them. Um, let's see here. Mary Ellen wrote, "Thank you, Bill. This is amazing for all levels of dementia and for caregivers." She's wondering, does your team create all of the content or do you use other sources? How does that work?
So we primarily create all of our own content. But we use content sources like stock footage libraries and things like that, where we can pull clips and then stitch them together in the narrative that we do and then add in the music, adding the sound effects, things like that. So like we'll have a concept of a video, and then we'll think about what do we want that video to show? Like what are the types of scenes that we want to show? And we'll go and try to find those clips, ensuring that they fit the Zinnia aesthetic of, very deep, very high quality visuals, zoomed in on one thing. It's long enough for us to keep on for a little while, and things like that. And then we also create all of the quizzes, today in history, the sort of lifelong learning, discover and discuss videos. We're creating all of that as well. And so we're really mindful of this content to be dementia-friendly, accessible, understandable. The only area where we'll use other people for content is the music, but we partner with music therapists who are going into communities and putting on live events and creating content for us there.
They know what everybody likes to hear. It's good. I like to think about the music of the future. Will we have music therapists rapping and, playing heavy metal? I always wonder about it. But
yeah, instead of a music therapist, you're going to have a therapeutic DJ.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Someone wrote, my mom is in a care facility in California and she's concerned about the TV content they use. How would you suggest they approach this with the care community? They seem to think that normal TV is not an issue, but when I visited, I see the dysregulation it causes. I suggested this webinar, but they weren't able to attend. And this is being recorded. So when you get our Tembo newsletter next month, the recording link is always included in that, along with the invite for our monthly webinar. But we also have the YouTube channel, so you can watch our Tembo Health YouTube channel for this recording when it's posted. And then it sounds like you have maybe some suggestions on how to expose this community to Zinnia TV.
Sure. So all the time we hear from people who maybe use Zinnia at home with their loved one, and then their loved one moved into a community and they introduce it, and they say, you should look into this. This really worked great for my mom. Or they'll put it on their mom's TV in the community, and the community will start to see it. We have family members who pay for their community to have Zinnia.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's, try to find the right person who's the right person to have a conversation about it. Maybe it's a memory care director, maybe it's an activities director, and suggest, have you heard of this? You should check it out. If you want to, give them, my name is, my email is bill@zinniatv.com. If you want to just say, you should call this guy, happy to do that. So there's plenty of ways to get in contact with us on our website and things like that. And we'd follow up and, have a demo, give them a trial, things like that.
Yeah, and maybe as a family member too, you can go in, and if they've got a smart TV, pull up the Zinnia YouTube page and be like, well, let's just watch and see what happens if we watch a few of these videos, and start a conversation with the residents. They all love visitors, even if you're not there to see that particular person. It's like you can engage all the residents at a memory care, and maybe they would see the proof. Wow, they're really liking this. Maybe we should talk about this more. I'm very sneaky that way. I'm like, let's just start playing it, see what happens.
Well, it's funny, I had a community where I had a really good relationship with the executive director, and he's like, Bill, I like you. Let's get Zinnia in there. And they brought it in, but it took a little while for the staff to kind of understand what it is. And, once we spent enough time with them, they really liked, and they saw what really turns people around is when they see the residents engaged and happy with it. Suddenly they get it. I met with a group of families at that community, and the executive director was like, listen, like, if the families are my client, right? The families are paying the bills. If the families want something or they're into something, then I want to be responsive to that. And he's like, and I'd like to show them what we're doing with Zinnia. So I met with the families, and I heard stories like how much they liked it, how much they'd visit their mom and see them happy, sitting on the couch with other residents, talking about the video and smiling and laughing. I got a photo from him of a woman standing in front of Zinnia, the television with Zinnia on. And we have a set of videos that I didn't show that are called Watch with Allison, where my co-founder Allison kind of in a Mr. Rogers style way invites people to sit down and watch with her. And now we're going to watch a story about, dogs. I had a dog. My dog was named Nico, and and then she goes, let's watch the dog video. And I'll watch the dog video and stuff and just converse. And the woman was standing in front of this video that was doing that. And he said, what are you doing? She's like, I'm having a nice discussion with this lady about bumblebees.
Oh,
So lots of positive things that come out of having it in the community.
yeah, that is wonderful. Somebody wrote, Joyce asked, do you have any videos? And yeah, I think we just mentioned that if you go to the zinniatv.com, you can see some of the videos there to get an idea if your loved one would like them. Or you can go to YouTube, and there's a Zinnia YouTube page. So you can search for Zinnia TV in YouTube and get an idea to try it out there before you get it for your television. Ken wrote, he might have missed this in the presentation, but he wants to talk about how he's very curious about TV being harmful to the mental health of dementia patients. His mother has mild dementia, mostly memory issues, but she always only wants to watch CNN. But when I ask her about what particular report she's watching about, she really can't tell me. Is there research that indicates or suggests that watching a single channel like CNN, or most of the time, can be harmful?
So I can't speak to that super specifically, but for a long time, all the research with TV and dementia was kind of like, don't watch any. And I mentioned early on we facilitated a panel discussion with people with early stage mild cognitive impairment and asked, what do you watch on TV? And some of them said, I just don't like it anymore. I can't follow it. So everybody's situation is different. That's what you learn when you work in dementia. Everyone is different and their situation and scenario is different. There's no one size fits all. But the research that is out about dementia and TV, in addition to the stuff that we did that talks about how Zinnia can be really good, suggests that whatever you're watching, the best experience is to watch something together and sit next to one another and do it as a shared activity, and discuss and talk and interact about what it is you're watching.
Yeah. Yep. And I know, I think about the generations that are coming about now, because it used to be like, yeah, don't watch any TV. It's not bad. It's bad for people with dementia. Well, there weren't options like this. So yeah, sometimes watching Gunsmoke all day isn't the best idea, because you might be thinking about getting into a shootout with somebody. But with the generations that are coming up, we're used to watching TV. We grew up with TV and movies and enjoying having a screen. A lot of people like to have that on in their house all day long, even if they're not watching it. It's just company. So having something that's really appropriate for everyone is just wonderful to see. And Ken wrote back and said, that's very interesting. Thank you. It's a good tip to watch it together and to engage with the content by talking about it. And that's what I would say too. Start off with watching things together when you're over there, and then maybe she goes back to CNN after you leave, but then maybe she starts realizing this is fun to leave it on, and just kind of introduce it little by little together. Let's see. Jan said, this is wonderful. Sounds like a wonderful addition to the routine for someone with dementia. Thank you very much. Someone also said, my mother cannot sit long enough to watch TV. I'm hoping this might engage her and quiet her. Thank you. Penelope asked, can you tell us more about the costs or the requirements and the flexibility of Zinnia? Is there anything else that you can share with that?
Yeah, no, I didn't mention anything about cost. We try to make it affordable for family caregivers. So for family caregivers living at home, Zinnia is $9.99 a month or $69.99 a year. And so the flexibility, it's, you can have it month to month and cancel whenever. We have a 14-day free trial, so you can go in and check it out and make sure it works for you and your family. And then, requirements, it's, you can access it on a TV, apps for Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, Android TV, or Samsung. So we're in those app stores. Search Zinnia TV. Those connected TVs need to be connected to the internet. We have tablet apps as well. which you can use offline if you pre-save certain favorite videos to, and you can always use it on a computer as well. You could use it on the phone, but we always recommend bigger is better from a screen perspective.
Yeah, this is wonderful. I work with so many people who misunderstand what's happening on TV and think it's real life. I've had residents in memory care who thought their grandchildren have been kidnapped. And how terrifying is that to think that your grandchildren have been kidnapped? I just spoke with a caregiver the other day, and they love watching Little House on the Prairie, which is a great show, but they were having a big blizzard. And so she started worrying about everybody in the blizzard and who's driving on the road. And it just became a whole thing of trying to explain that's not real. And yeah, it gets
Right.
complicated, even with the multiple shows.
Yeah, even if something is on the surface, you think it's safe, Little House on the Prairie,
Yep.
then, that's a great example of someone with dementia just seeing that and having a reaction to it.
Yep, exactly. Well, thank you so much, Bill. And we will be putting the recording of this up on our YouTube page in a few weeks. And next month, Alexis, one of the care navigators, and I are going to be talking about some behavioral symptoms and how to communicate with someone living with dementia and help them through things like hallucinations or agitation or what might be triggering them to feel this way. And I think there are many times where caregivers are not thinking about the TV as a trigger, but it definitely can be a trigger. So you do want to have really safe and easily understood content in your home or your community if somebody's living in a facility. And thank you again so much, Bill. This has just been wonderful. I get so excited. I think I want it because I think anything.
We've heard from caregivers who say that when my husband is gone, I'm keeping Zinnia because I enjoy it. It calms me down.
Exactly. Yeah. Because anything that's good for people living with dementia, we find is also good for everybody else because it is usually calmer. It's not as stressful. It's just, yeah, it's a better world with things like this. So I appreciate you and your partner putting this out there. And that's wonderful.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the opportunity to come and speak to everyone. Thank you everyone for attending and appreciate the partnership with Tembo.
Awesome. Great. Bye, everybody. We'll catch you next month at 12:30 Central, where Alexis and I are going to be talking about some of the different symptoms that somebody might have, like paranoia, or they might be getting agitated, or things might be triggering them to be confused. So we'll be talking about that next month. I know it's a topic that you've all been looking forward to, and you'll see that invitation come out in your newsletter. If you want to get a hold of anybody at Tembo for information about the Medicare Guide program or just to learn more about our webinars, you can always email us at care@tembo.health. And I do include that in our recordings so that you have that information. And then again, Zinnia is ZinniaTV.com, ZINNIA, like the flower, the beautiful flower. Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for coming, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.